manage to keep up with sports, local sports, international sports, and what's going on?
In my time as an athlete, I had to do it the hard way. I had been put out of school. I had to go to another school. I had to find a way to prove that I was worthy of the confidence of my parents that had been really heavily influenced by my expulsion from a school, by Donald Davis, after whom a school is named in the Bahamas, who had the confidence in me that I was really a student of a kind that ought not to have been expelled, and therefore I should be sent back to him. And so I had this urge to prove myself across the board in two areas, sports and Junkanoo. And so that helped me to know that in my life and my experience as a politician, in my office as Prime Minister, I must always recognize that there are thousands of people who are gifted but are unable to have those gifts manifest themselves if they're in the islands because of lack of facilities, lack of sporting facilities. And so for me, therefore, this experience that I've had in my own life has been a motivating factor for me that has carried itself through my public life.
And in terms of facilities, I've heard that this is your first time in the Gymnasium Gymnasium since it's been renovated. Just give me your views on what you've seen when you walk through the door.
Well, I'm very pleased. The minister was trying to get me to come in to see these facilities for some time, and he's been bragging about it. And this is part of the process of making ourselves a nation that not only can host international competition, because right in this gym we've had universities bring their top basketball teams here. And so clearly we as a country have committed ourselves to hosting the best athletes in the world at international sporting events, and we have in the future events lined up. Once you give our kids in those islands an opportunity to have access to modern facilities, they will find a way to come here to beat the athletes of New Providence. They're going to be motivated to do that. And that is why Abaco won the softball championship. We call equity in sports to be extended to the different islands. And we are bound to have more Usain Bolts come out of those islands, right? Of that you can be sure. More basketball players, more Buddy Hields come out of those islands. And I was just saying the other day, I took a picture with Buddy Hield when he was 9 years old. I'm playing on a basketball court.
Wow.
And look at what he is today.
Star.
A star.
Most events related to sports tourism are held in the province. What does this do now in terms of moving these events to outer islands and spreading it around and, bringing attraction and attention to those islands that may be or feel left out at times?
It's not just doing it for the athletes, and we do it for them automatically, but it also has an economic impact. Right. And that economic impact will be where athletes would choose to go into a particular island to train once you have adequate facilities for them. So once the athletes would have an opportunity to go to Exuma or to go to Andros or to go to Abaco or to go to Grand Bahama, then they have a choice. And so that helps the economy of those islands. It also places athletes who are world-defining athletes next to those who have the potential, who are Sidney Poitiers, who are Rihannas, who are Usain Bolts, who are soccer stars. Find them and give them an opportunity to be the best they can. So people like yourself, with the platform that you have, you're performing an extraordinary service in your widening the area in which people are able to hear a prime minister speak, to be inspired by what he says, that the opportunities will be presented for young kids all over, and to know with certainty that there's some young kid out there, like the same Stephen Gardner, right, who just burst onto the scene, right, with this extraordinary athleticism that he is demonstrating. And so we know logically there are other Shawnee Millers. We know that there's some great soccer players out there. We know, period, there are great swimmers out there. We've seen them. And we know once we give them the facilities, they will do well. And when they do well, they lift the spirits of our country. And I expect the Minister of Education to launch a healthy lifestyle program in our schools starting next term when school resumes after the summer holidays. Because we cannot have a country where people are saying we are the worst in the region and what we call non-communicable diseases, or we're nearly the worst. We're the worst in diabetes. These are behavioral diseases where what you eat, what you do, the lack of exercise is all important. We are encouraging the University of the Bahamas. We passed at the House of Assembly the bill to establish University of the Bahamas. The Senate, once the Senate passes it, we will usher in the University of Bahamas. The University of Bahamas will also give sporting scholarships for kids in our islands to be able to come and get free education because they have athletic ability. All of that is going to happen to incentivize sports and opportunity for education.
And from a governmental aspect, from yourself, Michael Thompson, all of the great athletes, it's been pretty much the same story. Rise from obscurity, make it, and then you're celebrated. But with these new facilities and new events coming and, getting a better chance to see the youth, would it help the government to identify those athletes and maybe celebrate some of them a bit earlier in their progression?
Well, I think we're doing that now. I mean, for example, Buddy Hield, I went to a tournament for high school players in Freeport. Someone came up and gave me a plaque, and the plaque had a picture of Buddy Hield and myself together in a photograph. And the young man said that he thought he should give me this because it would remind me that one day Buddy Hield will be a professional basketball player. Now, here's Buddy Hield. The coach for Buddy Hield and the coach for the young lady who's in the WNBA comes out of the Valley. I mean, he's Moon McPhee. And so when you begin to look at the fact that we have coaches, Moon McPhee's daughter is now a coach at one of the colleges in the United States of America. But we have athletes who are great, we have coaches who are great. And so there's no doubt that I think we ought to have a policy where we're searching out this potential that exists out there and encouraging them and being able to incentivize them to be the best they can. In a small country, that's very necessary. So all of the Buddy Hields that exist out there, the best thing we can do for them is give them an opportunity to have access to proper facilities and to keep on talking to them about the importance of education and that they mustn't just focus on how good they are at sports. They must also recognize that they must pay attention to their schoolwork because we've had athletes who have the incredible skill but couldn't qualify to stay in college. And, that's a shame. And so we therefore know that as we talk about developing athletic skills and prowess, at the same time, we must never let them lose focus on the need to pay attention to the academic studies. But I don't think we're going to have any doubt. Once we extend facilities to those islands, it's going to naturally take care of itself because in competition, trust me, in those islands, nothing is better for them than to come into Freeport or come into New Providence and beat up on the teams here. And they'll be incentivized to do that. So for me, that kind of inter-island rivalry that we will be able to promote is going to be wonderful. It's going to be like the Saxons and the Valley Boys. The Valley Boys been in more than the Saxons, but it'll be like that. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and speaking with Sentence.